Hi guys, we've got the truck back finally. We'll explain what happened about that in a moment, but we're going to just take you on a tour around the truck, so come and have a look.
Hi guys, so this is our truck. This is a 2019 Ford Ranger Wild Track. We went with the Wild Track as opposed to the Raptor because the Wild Track has leaf springs on the back, which means it can be uprated, whereas the Raptor has independent rear suspension, which can't be uprated. And because of the size of our RV, we need to be able to uprate the Ranger to a gross train weight of 7 tonne to enable us to pull the weight that we needed to. After a little bit of research, we decided to go with the 2-litre eco diesel, simply because it has more power and it has more torque than the 3.2. It does have the wet belt with it, which is a bit of a bone of contention, but after doing a bit of research, and there's a specific video that an Australian company have did, and they were towing a fully loaded caravan that was 3.5 tonne, and they compared the 2-litre eco diesel directly with the 3.2, and the 2-litre beat it at every point and at every measure. So we decided to go with the 2-litre eco diesel. It feels great, it drives great, it's very responsive. We've had to upgrade it in a few ways to make sure it's capable of towing our big fifth wheel. So if we walk round to the back here, okay, so we had to have the leaf springs upgraded, and we've had airbags fitted to the chassis that goes between the chassis and the leaf springs, and that braces some of the weight. We'll put a picture on in the video. And this is one of the reasons why we couldn't have the Raptor, because that's got independent rear suspension as opposed to the leaf springs that are easily uprated. And then the next thing we had to do was have this hitch fitted. So if I go around the other side of the bed. Okay, so we back up to the fifth wheel. We have to take the rear door down for mounting the fifth wheel. We reverse up and it mounts into here onto the plate here. If I take you around to the fifth wheel, and this is the mounting point here. We've got a lock on here at the moment, but this is where it mounts. So it's a lot more stable and a lot more secure than a traditional caravan with a normal tow bar. A lot of the weight is imposed in the bed, and it makes it a lot more stable. Okay, so a lot of people ask if you need a different license to tow the fifth wheel, and there's a lot of ambiguity within the regs, and people in the industry say that you don't need a different license, but people that who do transport and things like that say that you do need a different license. Now, the fifth wheel itself, when it's fully loaded, will be under 3.5 tonne on the axles, and when the fifth wheel is in the bed of the pickup itself will be under 3.5 tonne as well, and we will be under a total of 7 tonne, which technically you are allowed to tow and drive on a normal BE licence. So for me, I am a post 97 licence holder. If you're a pre 97, that means you can drive anything up to 7.5 tonne, and you can tow a trailer of 750 kilo, or you can tow a trailer and combination of up to a maximum of 8.25 tonne. If you passed after 97, originally on the government website it said that you could tow anything up to a gross train weight of 7 tonne, which is great. That's where we're at. That's what we're doing. The truck won't be over 3.5 tonne. The train weight won't be over 7 tonne. That's where we're at. But recently they changed the government website, and it now says that if you passed your test after 97, the maximum you can tow on your BE licence is 3.5 tonne. Now, I called the DVLA, And they said if it was us, we'd be going by the wording on the government website, which says if you want to tow anything that is over a total of 3.5 tonne, you need a minimum of a C1E licence. It doesn't stipulate if that weight is in the bed of the pickup or if it's under 3.5 tonne on the axles. It simply says if the trailer you are towing is over 3.5 tonne, you need a minimum of a C1 plus E licence. And for that reason, and because I've never towed anything before, I've never even had a bike rack on the back of my car, so I was very anxious about towing this thing because of how big it is. And then I was also anxious about the fact that if we got pulled up by somebody and a police officer was going by what it says on the government website, regardless of whether I was under 3.5 tonne on the axles, would we be in trouble? And for that reason, I decided to do my HGV Class 1. And to be honest, I'm glad I did, because I think I'd have probably done some damage to the RV if we'd have gone towing with this thing.
It would have took out some lampposts and hit the curbs. I don't know.
At the least, I think I'd have probably took out the side of the RV, if I'm honest.
More money.
So all in all, I did an intensive course from doing my theory and hazard test, my theory, the practical, and my final test. It was 6 weeks, and it cost me like £2,200. Big shout out to Glyn, my instructor, because he is a cool guy and really looks after me, and really taught me well. And if I'm honest, if I hadn't have been sat in a truck with somebody telling me not to turn, don't turn yet, don't turn yet, don't turn yet, I'd have took the side out of that RV, 100%. 100%.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So the £2,200 it cost me to do my HGV Class 1 is certainly money well spent, because I think we'd have done a lot more damage to the RV and potentially other property. And now I feel confident and comfortable to be able to drive this thing around, and I know what I need to do. And it's amazing how you think you know, but until you're in that situation, you don't. And any Class 1 drivers will tell you the same. It's a completely different way of driving. And once you've got it, it clicks, and it's a simple understanding. But until you've done it, you have no clue. And I honestly had no clue. So I'm glad I did that. And a shout out to PR Training and a shout out to Glyn, because you guys are great. So thanks for that. So moving on to the truck.
Well, what had happened was we got the truck. Truck was running fine, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Chris being Chris, he wanted to get it checked out, take it to a Ford garage, get an overhaul done on it, make sure that everything was safe and in order for us to go travelling. So when you guys are asking, have you left yet? Everything we've been saying is 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
We'll be going in 2 weeks.
That was 10 weeks ago.
And this is 10 weeks ago, because we didn't have the truck. So we'll tell you what happened.
So, obviously, as I said earlier on in the video, there's a bit of a bone of contention with the 2-litre eco diesel because of the wet belt that's inside the engine. It's a belt that runs in the oil, and a lot of people say that it's a massive area of risk with the engine. So, because we bought the truck second hand, it was only 4.5 years old when we bought it, and it had done 38,000 miles. Obviously, it had got full service history, but for me to have peace of mind going travelling, we spent nearly £6,000 on the truck. I had the wet belt changed, and when we went to Ford, they were like, "You're going over the top here, but this is what I'm like." So we went to town. We had the wet belt done. We had the oil pump and the oil pump belt done, the water pump, the V-belt, the oil pickup funnel, the sump, the tensioners, the retainers, 9 software updates. We had the automatic gearbox serviced, which Ford say isn't a serviceable item, but we paid over £800 to have new filter, new oil in that. Full major service, new EGR valve gasket, new EGR cooler gasket, new DPF gaskets. We went to town, and then when we picked the truck up, they gave me the old wet belt. They took pictures of it before they took it off. The belt looked fine, so I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling reassured that actually there isn't a wet belt issue as long as you look after the truck, as long as it's serviced, and as long as you use the right oil. I felt happy. The truck felt great. It was driving nice. It felt really good. And then 6 weeks after we'd had it back, so we're now end of Feb?
Yeah, end of Feb.
And middle to end of Feb, we were on our way back home being RV in the middle of a farm, and all of a sudden a warning light come up on the dash saying that there was a low coolant pressure.
So Chris was like,
pull
over now. So I was like, all right.
So we pulled over to the garage, literally just up the road. Checked the coolant. The coolant was on nothing. I looked underneath. There was no coolant leaking out of it. It wasn't like the radiator had blown or anything like that. So we and at this point the thermostat went right up and then came right down again. It wasn't like it stayed up. It went right up. It came right down again straight after. So we tootled along the road because we were only up the road. Tootled along the road below 2,000 RPM. Got it back here. Parked it up. That was on the Tuesday afternoon. On the Wednesday I managed to get it booked in with Ford and took it back in on the Thursday. Filled up the coolant and drove it back to Ford, stopping every 10 minutes to check that the coolant hadn't dropped down. It hadn't dropped down. I never took it above 2,000 RPM. The truck felt fine, but I didn't let it get warm. I didn't let it get hot. I didn't let the coolant was still full by the time I got it back to Ford. So Ford took it in. On the Thursday, they did a pressure test on it. There was no external coolant leak. So they said they wanted to take it out on the Friday, get it hot, get it up to temperature, and then do another pressure test and do a sniff test, which tests for exhaust gases in the coolant. So they took it out on the Friday, and they then came back to me and said that the head gasket had gone and potentially it needed a new engine. And at that point,
Chris flipped his. If you know Chris takes no messing. He likes things to be done properly. So we went in there and it went off. I wish I recorded it, to be honest, but it went off.
Yeah,
because we just couldn't understand how they had the car 6 weeks prior and now it needs a new engine.
Yeah, so my argument was that it had lost coolant because of something that they had done wrong, because they'd had half the engine off to do the wet belt, the oil pump, the water pump. They'd gone to town on the engine and we'd spent $6,000 on it. And it felt great. And it was driving great. It was still driving great when we drove it into Ford on the Thursday morning, and no engine lights had come back up again, apart from that brief coolant pressure too low. It was driving fine. They then said that an engine management light had come up to say that there was this issue with the head gasket. I really argued, because we got straight in the car, didn't we, and went straight up there, and I didn't hold back. Like, my argument was there wasn't a head gasket issue before. This has only arisen now, after you took the engine apart. My argument was that they had done something wrong. They'd pinched a seal, something hadn't gone back on properly. They said there was no evidence of an external coolant leak, which is what they'd said on the Thursday. They then came back on the Friday and said there was only an evidence of a leak when they'd got it up to temperature, and that leak was through the head gasket, and it brought up this engine fault code. This engine fault code then referred to a general service bulletin from Ford to say that any Ford Rangers of the 2-litre Eco Blue engine that had been produced in the Silverton plant between 2018 and 2021 may suffer from a head gasket fault. So, as a result, we managed to get a 35% contribution from Ford. The garage also reduced the labour rate and gave me discount on the parts. So effectively, what should have been a 10 grand job, we paid just under 5 grand for. Which, to get a brand new engine for 5 grand, well, it wasn't 5 grand because we also bought new injectors. So the engine came complete, bottom end, crank, conrods, pistons, piston rings, ladder rail, block, cylinder head, valves, the whole lot. The only thing it didn't come with was the injectors, which I decided to go and get brand new injectors as well. So all in all, it cost £5,700, which for a brand new engine arguably isn't that bad. But after just spending £5,800 overhauling the last engine, really left a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth, to be honest. And I've completely fell out of love with the truck. I even said to the garage I was hoping you'd phone me and tell me that the place had burnt down and took the truck with it, because I didn't want it back, if I'm honest.
Now, I was very excited to get the truck back. I love this truck. I'm so glad we've got our truck back. And Chris keeps saying we should have gone for the Dodge Ram.
So we were going to go for the Dodge Ram. There was the Dodge Ram 1500 3-litre Eco diesel in Stafford. And it was a nice truck, wasn't it? It was beefy, it was big, nice. It was nice.
But it was over.
But because it was the 3-litre Eco diesel and not the normal 5.7 V8 Hemi petrol, that too could only be uprated to 7 tonne gross train weight, the same as the Ranger. But the Dodge Ram weighed 250 kilo more, which meant we lost 250 kilo on our payload, because we could still only be 7 tonne. But the Dodge Ram weighed 2,450 kilo, whereas the Ranger weighs 2,200 kilo. So having the Ram, we would have been borderline on the 7 tonne, and we'd have had to have been very, very cautious, which is why we went for the Ranger, and we went for the 2-litre Eco Blue because it's got more power and torque than the 3.2. Had I known then what I know now, I probably would have gone for the newest 3.2 we could get and had it remapped, because when they're remapped, they have a lot of power. They have issues with timing belts, they have issues with injectors, they have issues with glow plugs, which I've since found out from doing a lot more research after we started having troubles with the truck. So in hindsight, I probably would have gone for the newest 3.2 we could get, had that remapped, had the DPF remapped out, the EGR mapped out, the AdBlue mapped out, and had the injectors and the timing belt changed, and the oil pump is also a big thing with those as well. You go for a geared oil pump, not a vaned one. We probably would have spent half as much money.
But we are where we are, and we've got to get on with it now, because I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I've had enough now. I'm sick of saying, when are you going?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks, and then it turned into 5 weeks.
2 weeks.
So, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Excuse me?
2 weeks.
So, yeah. That's your lot.
So, yeah, we are where we are. We've got the truck back now. It's got a brand new engine, and in all honesty, it does feel great. But
Feels good.
I've lost my confidence with it, if I'm honest.
It's coming back.
So, I mean, if
It'll
you're
come
following
back.
us, you may find that we've broke down in the middle of Montenegro and we're stuck. And
If anyone
maybe
can come and help us,
somebody might have to come and get us. But
we'll be fine.
Ford
Positive.
are following us, the garage that repaired us. So maybe they'll have to come and get us if we
They might
break
have to
down.
help us,
Because we've had so much done to this truck now. We've got a 12-month guarantee with Ford for the engine, for the oil pump, for the water pump, for lots of things on the engine. So
We will be
hopefully
fine.
it'll be okay.
Okay.
And if it's not,
Positive thoughts.
we're going to get a Dodge Ram.
We'll see about that. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching.
Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share it with your friends. Or comment as well if this is something that you think you could do or want to do. We're open for questions. Bye.
Bye.